My mother was a teacher at a Shanghai middle school. She taught whatever the party asked, one semester in Chinese and the next in Russian. My parents both believed in Mao and the Communist Party, just like everybody else in the neighborhood. They had 4 children, each 1 year apart. I was born in 1957. We lived in the city, on South Luxuriant Road in a small 2-story townhouse occupied by 2 families. The house was left by my grandfather, who had died of tuberculosis right before I was born. I was an adult since the age of 5. That was nothing unusual. The kids I played with all carried their family's little ones on their backs, tied with a piece of cloth. The little ones played with their own snot while we played hide and seek. I was put in charge of managing the family because my parents were in their working units all day, just like everyone else's parents. I called my sisters and brother my children because I had to pick each one of them up from kindergarten and nursery school while I myself was only a kindergartner. I was 6 when my sister Blooming was 5. My second sister Coral was 4, and my brother Space Conqueror was 3. My parents made careful choices in the names they gave us. They were considered eccentric because the neighbors named their children Guard of Red, Big Leap, Long March, Red Star, Liberation, Revolution, New China, Road of Russia, Resist U.S., Patriotic Forerunner, Matchless Red Soldier, etc. My parents had their own ideas. First they called me Ling Xuan, Rising Sun at a Mountain. They dropped it because Mao was considered the only sun. After further contemplation, they named me Anchee, Jade of Peace. Also, it sounded like the Chinese pronunciation of the English word angel. They registered me with it. Blooming and Coral were named after the sound of chi, jade. There were 2 reasons why my parents named my brother Space Conqueror. One was that my father loved astronomy. The second was to respond to Mao's call that China would soon build its own spaceship. As I understood it, my parents were doing work that was saving the world. Every evening I would pick up the children and fight with the kids on the block all the way home. It was like eating a regular meal that I got a purple cheek or a bloody nose. It did not bother me too much. Although I was scared of crossing at traffic lights and dark alleys, I learned to not show my fear, because I had to be a model for the children, to show them what bravery meant. After I arranged for the children to play by themselves in the living room, I went to set up the stove to cook dinner. It always took me a long time to light the stove, because I did not understand that wood and coals needed air to burn. I stuffed the stove as I sang songs of Mao quotations. One time, when I tried many times and the stove would not light, I lost my patience. I went out to play, thinking that the stove was not burning. Then a kid came and told me that there was smoke coming out of our house window. This happened 3 times. I tried to put the children to sleep while the sky was still bright. The children's little feet kicked the cotton blankets and made new holes over the old. The blankets soon became rags. When the room quieted down, I would lean on the windowsill staring at the entrance to the lane, waiting for my parents to appear. I watched the sky turn deep blue, Venus rising, and I would fall asleep by the window. In 1967, when I was 10 years old, we moved. It was because our downstairs neighbor accused us of having a bigger space than they had. They said, how can a family of 6 occupy 4 rooms while a family of 11 has only 1? The revolution is about fairness. They came up with chamber pots and poured shit on our blankets. There were no police. The police station was called a revisionist mechanism and had been shut down by the revolutionaries. The Red Guards had begun looting houses. No one answered our call for help. The neighbors just watched. The downstairs neighbor kept bothering us. We cleaned the shit night after night, swallowed insults in meek submission. The downstairs family became uncontrollable. They threatened to harm us children when our parents were not at home. They said their second daughter had a history of mental illness. Therefore, they could not be responsible for what she was going to do. The second daughter came up and showed me an axe that she had just sharpened. She said she could chop my head in 2 like chopping a watermelon. She asked me if I would like her to do it.